All right, folks. So today we have a very special guest, someone who's been transforming the way people approach fitness for over 15 years. Joining us is Arvind Ashok, the co-founder of The Quad. Now, this is a fitness coaching company that's one of, I would say, the OGs or the pioneers in the game, right? And they've started way back in 2011. That's 14 years back, way before online coaching was even known about in India. I think even today, there's so many misconceptions about it. Imagine when they started, right? Now, Arvind's journey really has been into coaching with a very, very simple goal. And it started off with his own desire to get fit. But like most of us, he didn't really know where to start. There weren't enough portals back then. There wasn't enough information back then. He joined gyms, but they didn't really help. And so he even tried to figure out what I would say fit really even meant, right? So what did he do? He said, let me take matters into my own hands. And he figured it out and he discovered something incredible. And trust me, this is something I think, and I fully agree with him, that fitness is an absolute superpower, right? And once he experienced his own transformation, he knew that he had to start helping others to do exactly the same. So for the past 15 years, Arvind and his co-founder Raj have been guiding people to find their own story with fitness, right? Helping them to explore at their own pace. They have a no BS policy. They're making fitness something that people can actually like enjoy and do rather than feeling like a chore. You know, a lot of us feel this thing, oh my God, I have to gym, right? But his passion was really to make it enjoyable and fun without it becoming complicated or intimidating for them. And if you ask the people he's coached, I'm sure he'll tell you that he has like the perfect blend of challenge and compassion, pushing you just enough to make progress, but not something that you can't handle. Now, as I mentioned, he's co-founded this with Raj. Now, Raj, unfortunately, is under the weather. So big shout out and I hope you feel good and better soon. And we'll have you on another episode at some point. But for today, let's get on with Arvind's journey, his coaching philosophy, and why Quad is changing the way people think about fitness. Arvind, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ketan. Excited to be here. Thank you for that intro.
Super. So let's dive in a little bit, right? Like, although I gave a little bit of a background of to how you became a coach, I would just like, if you could, in your own words, tell us what made you like get into it. What was your main driving force other than just, okay, I want to get fit?
Well, the magnitude of I want to get fit is something that gets lost. Been unfit for as long as I can remember. I love playing sport. I used to play sport all the time as a kid. Cricket, imagine, I would get tired after batting for 10 overs. Just carrying a bat and running with the pads. So it was always something that I thought, this is how it is. I had friends of mine who would be able to keep running all day, not me. So school, then college, then grad school, and it just kept getting worse and worse. So that thing just kept snowballing. Then, you figure, you have 2 degrees and somebody's paying you to do a job. Maybe figuring out this fitness thing cannot be impossible. So that was it. So, and then you keep telling yourself a story. You're always going to be skinny. You're always going to be weak. You're not going to get fit because after 10 years of being there, you repeat these stories and that becomes your identity. Then from not being able to run something like 500 meters to running a half and then to lifting weights, I realized none of these stories were true. And hey, if none of these stories were true, then no story needs to be true. And all stories, we have a hand in shaping them. That to me is a powerful, powerful thing to learn. So
right.
While fitness is the vehicle, I think there are larger lessons that all of us can learn. So to me, that is the idea. Training is a sandbox for life. So in this sandbox, you learn a lot of lessons and you apply it. And this was the first big lesson that I personally learned, that we can break out of the shackles we put on ourselves. So yeah, wanted to teach this. And so just took a leap of faith and Raj and I moved back and here we are. So yeah.
So how did Raj and you meet? Like, where do you guys know each other from? How did you meet up and how did you start working on this together?
So while both Raj and I are from Madras, same batch, essentially, we didn't meet until we were in the South Bay in California. So met very randomly. A mutual friend had a birthday party and went there, and Raj and his wife were there with a dog. I love dogs. So I went and played with the dog, and literally that's how I met him. And this was around the time when both of us were independently thinking that, hey, this is something that maybe I can pursue. So I was in touch with a friend in Madras who was in the startup environment, just asking him what the scene was like, because it had been about 6 years since I had left the country. So just checking, and by in parallel, small world, that guy happened to be somebody that Raj went to bits with. So he was also in touch with him.
Okay.
And so coincidence, Raj and I met around the same time, and we were having this parallel conversation with this guy. And so that guy told Raj, hey, there's another guy talking same stuff as you. Do you by chance know him? So it's just, yeah, too many stars aligning and just complete blind luck, because I'm the kind of guy who doesn't go to parties. If I go to
Yeah.
parties, never speak to anybody. And went to one party and I met founder there.
Yeah, I think coincidences do happen, and this is a good learning for a lot of people. Is that, you know, two things, right? Two things. One is obviously coincidence to happen, but at that point, if you have to take action rather than just dismissing it as one, right?
Mhm.
The other thing, and this is where I firmly believe, is that in life in general, one should always choose to take action where, the reward is disproportionately compared to the risk, or not risk, but to the effort, let's say. Right?
Uh-huh.
For example, going to that party for an introvert like you, because you don't go to parties clearly, like you mentioned, must have been tough, right? I mean, to say the least. You must have, I need to go meet 20 people. I'm not the kind of person to do that. But that effort to do that versus, say, lying back at home, and I don't think Netflix existed, but whatever, something existed at some TV where the effort is super low, but there was no reward, was
Yeah,
going out. I think those things really can change lives, right? So I
absolutely.
think so those are what I call the 3 to 4 big forks that come in your life.
Mhm.
Like, literally, you've taken that path, you've chosen amongst one or two things, and suddenly your life's just gone another trajectory altogether. And if you choose wisely at that time, you can just become phenomenally successful,
Totally.
right? Because you don't get too many opportunities. You get a few, but if you take the right decision, then perfect. Super. So, little background about your and Raj's education. So, were you always fitness coaches? Did you transition into this? And what did you like? What certification did you get? How did you get into fitness coaching?
Yeah, I'm into computers. I've written code for as long as I can remember. My dad's into computers, so we had computers when there weren't many computers around. So I love writing code. I always wanted to go to the Valley and work at a startup. That was my dream. I went to grad school for interaction design after doing computer science engineering here. Very, very typical. And then during that time, I decided to get fit. So that was when I decided to figure out, hey, there is science to this. Oh, physics and mechanics is what lifting weights is. Never bothered while I understood it, never bothered what it meant in terms of lifting weights, and biology, chemistry, and physics is what all this is. So geek at heart. So I started geeking out, and very similar. Raj, mechanical engineering, and he was in a medical device startup. So I think a lot of things do start by people wanting to scratch their own itch. And we were no different. We wanted to get fit. And then you realize, oh, running, flexibility, so yoga. And then what do we do? Okay, we lift weights. So along this way, and being in the US, you do get exposed to some amazing coaches there. So in the beginning, it started off as, okay, I want to understand this better. By random chance, I was training at a CrossFit that was owned by Kelly Starrett. Kelly
Okay.
is one of the
Yeah.
biggest coaches today. I had no idea who he was, right? Because I didn't know anything about anything. So it was a great piece of luck that I got to train under Kelly for about a year and a half. And then once Raj and I got talking, it became a lot more planned. So we started doing a bunch of certifications, meeting, say, Raj met Dan John for a kettlebell cert. We went to Seattle to meet Mark Rippito for a barbell cert. And so all of these started falling into place because we just wanted to figure out, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And the more we studied, the more certifications we got, we were like, you know what? There is a big, big gap in translating this for people like us. Just 2 years ago, if you had told me any of this, I wouldn't have known this.
Yeah.
There is a big gap between, the regular person who wants to get fit and the fitness professional. So we were basically starting to blog and write on Facebook. Facebook was a thing back then, about all of this, just making it simpler for people like us. And we got a lot of traction out of that as well. A lot of our friends and family back home started talking to us. So, we started applying this, n equal to one. Always you start there. But then, do you actually know what you're doing? You got to apply it on other people. So we were
True,
lucky to
true.
have a few friends who were willing to let us experiment. So once that succeeded, we were like, you know what? This is making a lot of sense. Now let's make a final push. Let's sort out whatever certifications we can and go get ready. So all of this was a very organic process at the start as part of us figuring out how to get fit. And then it became, you know what, these are the things that we think will help us fit this puzzle once we go there. So getting like a kettlebell cert, a CrossFit, all of this happened towards the end once we knew we were doing this.
Right. So did you actually pilot this when you were in the States and then you moved back and actually launched a brand, or did you start the brand there and then?
By pilot, we just worked with 2 or 3 people, personal clients from over there. We would share a plan, nutrition and a fitness plan, and they would do it.
And why did you launch this in the US? Like, what made you come back to India? Like, was there already a plan to move back, or you moved back to launch Quad?
Well, it's one of those four things you spoke about, right, Ketan? It is the path over there, lucrative, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, relax, easy. I mean, not easy as in, yes, you still are going to have a great career there, but wanted to move back. Both of us, again, independently had this thought in mind. It would be good to move back. I mean, I personally thought it would be something in computers, but that itch was always there. That thought was always there in our heads. From the outside, looks like you guys are quitting a job and moving to India to start something in fitness when there is no fitness industry really, and you guys are not really fitness professionals, nor have you launched a company ever. It makes no sense, but it's one of those things that, you're like, no, this makes total sense.
Yeah, I think it only makes sense for people who don't see your vision, right? I think it doesn't make sense right now because they haven't seen it as clearly as you. And all these things, right? Like, this is what I talk about partners, whether it's people who get married or people who partner up for a business, right? I think and they keep saying, oh, we have to be very complementary in everything and stuff. I think the only thing that you need to be complementary is your skill sets, but everything else has to be so aligned. Like, you both were thinking of coming back. You both independently spoke to that mentor or somebody, right? You both were thinking about fitness. You both had very similar reasons you got fit yourself, right? And all of those align. And obviously, then there's ambition, there's drive, there's that desire to create your own legacy at some point. All of those have to be super aligned for you to be able to win at this market that you're playing in, right? But yes, you will have some complementary skills that, allows you to do more in your day to day. That's super important, right? So coming to that, what are your complementary skills between you and Raj? Like, how do you manage? Who does what?
So I'll start with Raj. Raj is somebody who will take a ad hoc thing and make it very precise. He will create a system and a process out of it. I'm the guy who will just make random stuff up and toss it around and see, and it might either be super lame or, a really good idea, but he's the filter. He's the guy who's going to figure out whether this makes sense and how to actually put it into a system. So yeah, that's broadly how, and we didn't know this about each other. As we started working, these roles started to play. Like, for example, from day one, we've always had a very precise class plan. And that's part of the system that continues until today. Like, this is how we do things at the Quad. And the first ever class plan, Raj wrote it. Whereas for me, plan was, okay, this is the warm up and this is the training session, and okay, you know what, that's it. And then I'm going to go there and see what kind of people show up, and we're going to just go based off of it. No. If A happens, we do this. If B happens, we do this. If C happens, you do this. Adding that extra layer of thinking, just pushing back, those are the most fundamentally ways that we do differ.
Right.
Yeah, that's one. And both of us love to coach. So the hard part for us was figuring out how do we slowly, as we grow, split things up. So he does take care for a lot more of the the business side of things. I take care of the fitness, the technical side of things. But
Right.
you could easily just switch each other up, and it would still work, because fitness is our jam. It's fitness, nutrition, geeking out.
Clearly, I mean, that, just the energy in your voice and about how you're passionate about coaching people is sort of coming out. It's coming out from people who are like coders, right? I myself have not almost 9 years in this business now, right? At some point running, but never as a coach. I mean, I've always been the guy running marketing, sales, business side, making sure compliances happen and stuff. And here too, I'm the guy like Vishnu and I are very, very, very different, where he is a coach like you, and I maybe like Raj look at a lot more the business side of things. But and I'm the guy who's the big dreamer, the guy who'll be like, listen, we can do this, we'll get this, and then Vishnu will be like, listen, we need to let's stop, let's analyze it like this, we'll build it out, and then we're like, okay, that sounds better, let's do it, but in this way, and then I will sit and make the crisp
Yeah.
structure out of it, because everything for me has to be an if then else, otherwise it doesn't work, because I'll be like a headless chicken otherwise
Got it.
running around.
For
So-
us, one thing we do is, because both of us love this getting creative and hey, this is how we're going to solve. If one wears that hat, the other wears the other hat. So it's like, okay, today you are doing this. So I got to be, think about the other, hey, how does this fit into the larger scheme? So it does happen very organically, but yeah, actually putting a very precise system and process, which is probably the most important thing for scaling and for running an organization. That's all.
Got it. So today, now, how do you actually conduct your business, right? You do online coaching. Now, do you do live trainings online, or do you have a gym also? Do you also just give out plans? There are so many methods or, formats out there. So what is it that you do, and like, what's the breakup in general, and what do you like the most, or what do you think is the most effective?
So when we started, we were obviously an in-person gym. Now there's a huge thing we got right. And I would say this is something for any new trainers starting off. If you're low on capital, steal our business model. So what we did, 5 to 8 in the morning, that's it. That's the only time we will coach. So this is how we started. And the spaces we used to coach in would be, say, a large building. We would take their parking lot essentially. So, for example, our first center was a play school, and there was also eye hospital there, Shankara Netralaya, if you guys know what that is. It's a really massive building. We took the area all around it. So we're talking 5,000-ish square feet. But it doesn't look like a gym. There's no gym. There's no nothing. And we had kettlebells because we felt that was the best tool for the job. It's a Swiss Army knife of a tool. So we didn't want machines, obviously. We wanted to be outdoors. So every day we would come and set it up based on what the class plan, that mesocycle, all of that entailed. 5 to 8 in the morning, and after 8 o'clock, we're done. We put things away, and there's no gym. So you actually can go to running your business.
Right.
Whereas for the longest time, people would ask, you guys have a great job. After 8 o'clock, you got nothing to do. You got a whole day to relax. Or you guys have another side gig going. So that's a model. And the reason we believe that model is powerful, for a lot of busy folks, the only time of day that you really have control over is that 5 to 8. So that's where we came from. We were, people who sat at a desk, had a job to go to. And especially in India, with traffic and with meetings being set at the last, you don't control how your evening generally goes. So we started off with this model. And until the pandemic hit, this is what we did. So when the pandemic hit...
So you were a completely offline gym model for 8-9 years.
Completely.
And to not your own gym, but using empty spaces of existing buildings. How cool. Like that's a serious hack, or in this thing like a jugaad, right? But did you have to pay these people
but
minuscule
compared to what it would cost to maintain a studio space? So the problem with a studio space is, well, besides the rent and overheads, now you're going to try to get clients all day, and well, there are peak hours. So we just said, you know what, let's focus on this. This is the kind of people that we want to service, and this is when we will service. So you got to learn to say no. Yes, of course, there are people, but you know what? we are not for them right now. So that space, that openness, being outdoors, because again, a lot of it has to come from things that we personally felt. We used to play outdoors a lot as a kid. We don't anymore. You're going to be locked up in an AC room, sitting in a chair. So let's break that outside. Let's go outside. So that's how this model came up. And today we've just shifted because there's a lot of this turfs coming up, right? So
Yeah.
instead of a random parking lot, now we have these turfs. So it makes life a lot simpler, but we still maintain the morning block for our in-person.
Okay.
Then pandemic, and we had to figure out how to pivot immediately, March 15th. And we run on a quarterly system. We get 12 weeks and then we take a week off. Just let's shift the cycle. You want to let your body recover. So we had essentially 2 weeks to plan it because we had to cancel the last week of our quarter. So Raj and I sat down and we figured out how to deliver our service virtually. And so, that was a good slap in the face, constraints, crisis, and you figure out what to do. And that changed things, I think, for a whole lot of us, like from how work is done to how coaching can be done. Because initially, if you had asked me, hey, can you coach, large groups on an online platform? Like, no, you can't walk around. You can't see people. How do I know if, form is maintained and all that? But you don't have a choice. This is it. And so we started building on that system because post-pandemic, what's happened is our virtual has overtaken our in-person.
Yeah. In so many things, right? In so many ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we run our in-person. Our in-person is only in Madras. We have 4 centers. And our virtual is, we service people in about 20 odd countries. And
wow.
Yeah. Well,
wow. And when you say again virtual, this is again live with your training?
Yeah. So what we do is large group coaching.
Right.
But say this is built from our experience of, say, how a CrossFit class used to be run. Now there's one coach to about 20, 30 people. Now, if you know what you're doing, it's a great way to go. And that's how my CrossFit was. Everybody knew what they were doing. So you needed only one person in front.
You just needed a cue. I did CrossFit for 2 years here in Bombay at Shivfoot at Shivorm's box, right? But you needed one guy, one coach, and then 20, 30 of us would just train.
Yeah. So we wanted to adapt that model. So we made it pseudo large group. We have about a 5 to 8 student to coach ratio. So each class, there might be 30 people, there will be 5 of us. So one guy's running it, and it might be 4 coaches who work in smaller segments, or if it is a very different kind of coaching, hey, you know what? You guys are going to work on the deadlift. You guys are going to work on the swing. You guys are going to work on the snatch.
Right.
Split it into smaller groups. So that's how we run. So it is live group coaching, and our virtual is the same. It is live group coaching.
Got it. Perfect. Super. And so basically the other thing is now, obviously you've grown from being a single center back in 2011, a lot of hustle, and trying to figure all this out. Right? What's worked for you to actually grow this into something that's there now? And how many clients do you have today out of just ballpark?
1,300, I want to say.
1,300 clients in 20 countries, right? From maybe a handful right at the beginning, right? Obviously, it's been a good 14, 15 years, let's say, but what's worked for you to grow this? And is this possible in, say, 6 months, 2 years, whatever? Like, what should coaches look to achieve? And how fast can they actually do this? And what really helped?
Well, fast was never, rightly or wrongly, never our game. So Raj and I, for the longest time, defined ourselves as coaches first. And the co-founder bit was a part-time thing. I mean, we moved to coach. We love to teach. This is what we wanted to do. It's great because we really worked on our service design for a really long time, which is why we were able to pivot very quickly. But there is such a thing as, you need to do the thing that you don't have a replacement for, the thing that only you can do. So we had to take off the coach hat and do more of the founder hat. So the simplest thing in this business is customer satisfaction. Maybe in all businesses, but of course in this, you got to give them results. For that, you need to understand what results mean to them. Now, The world keeps pushing fat loss, fat loss, fat loss. Yes, absolutely relevant. Sure, all that is fine. But if we understand why they are here, and then you can guide them rather than saying, in 3 months, I'm going to give this to you. I'm going to let you do nonsense and we will get there. That stuff doesn't work. So we are about sustainable long term. So
Yeah.
that's what has worked for us. So even today, I think word of mouth and referrals is how we get new clients. We call them students. So that's how we get new students in.
I
That's
think
what.
I think you made such an important point. I think this is the only industry, or or maybe it's one of the industries which actually sells things that people actually don't want. I'll explain what I mean, right? And there's so few people who speak like you, right? Which is seriously surprising. Most people, if you go to them and say, "I'd like to sign up for the gym," and like, okay, here's the gym class, PT, whatever you call it, right? I want to get fit. And then the coach will say, yeah, this is the price. These are the number of sessions I offer. And I keep, and in our education program, which we were talking about before we started the podcast, is that I really say, you know what, people don't care about your fitness plan. People don't care about your nutrition. People don't care about how personalized it is.
Mhm.
They only care about what drove them to come to the gym in the first place. And it's not to sign up with you, even if you're some celebrity coach, right? It doesn't matter. They came because they felt a need. They wanted to lose weight.
Mhm.
They wanted to fit into something. They wanted more confidence. They want to go talk to that girl at the bar. They want to probably even and this was my need and when I was growing up, was to be able to take off my t-shirt at the pool,
Mhm.
right? Just have a little bit, like, feel good about myself, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, right? And then that's also maybe the first level goal. Oh, I need to lose 10 kgs.
Yeah.
And that's not what people are selling. They're selling their process. They're selling the plan. They're selling nutrition, whatever. And then you went a step deeper, which is what we also have incorporated into our program, which is called the 5 whys technique.
Mhm.
Is to keep asking why,
Yeah.
right? Why do you want to lose weight? Oh,
Mhm.
I feel this thing. Okay, I want to fit into my jeans. Why do you want to fit into those jeans? And so on and so forth. And you come up with probably what is the real seed or the real deep reason why a person would want to lose weight. And then that would drive them to work harder towards their
Mhm.
goals. And that would eventually get them better results, which again gives you better clients and more referrals and all of that, right? So I think
Absolutely. Yeah.
you made a fantastic point there, which is 2 levels deeper than what people actually think of.
Probably the first time that they are probing that deep about their real answer rather than giving the superficial answer, because
Yeah.
we are inundated by, hey, you should want this, you should want this. But taking the time to introspect doesn't come. And I think that's what a coach can really, really add value with, like having that conversation, seeing and listening. Unfortunately, those are non scalable and harder skills. But if you start and, like Kevin Kelly says, if you have 1,000 true fans, you can do almost anything.
And there's another book, and I can't remember the name for the life of me, but it's about how to keep your customer happy and how to keep them with you for life, right? The idea here is that it costs you 5 times as much to get a new customer than to retain your old customer, right? And if it costs that much, and this is not just money in ads, like a lot of people say, oh, but I don't do ads, so how will it cost me money?
Yeah.
But it costs you time to do the sales call. It costs you time to onboard the guy at the first this thing, understand his needs, prepare his plan from scratch, understand how it works for a long time. And then if you have to do that, if for every client that's coming in every month, you're wasting 5 times us versus say if Arvind's already my coach, he already knows my next progression, and that'll be a little bit of a switch. You don't make major changes every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, right? So you already know me, and it saves you 5 times the amount of time, and that just becomes customer delight and engagement and retention just becomes the biggest growth strategy ever. Perfect. So apart from just growing organically, right? Have you also dabbled with doing ads, trying to promote, using capital to actually leverage and grow?
Absolutely. We do ads, we do all of these things, except those are all in a way hygiene factors as much as anything else. You want to create a clear message as to who you are. Because in the beginning, when it's a small group, it's easy to reach a community. It's easy to not be confused. But now, when everybody's kind of sort of sounding the same, It's important to differentiate. It's important to message for your potential customers and for your employees as well. So our branding and marketing team is amazing in trying to share this message. So who do we get in? Hey, if this is you, this is who we want. But this is something that, we can always keep improving on.
Right.
In terms of scale, though, this is what Raj and I are currently working on. We've shifted our roles to a lot more R&D. So we're figuring out how can we do large group nutrition coaching. And we have a program that we just launched. We call it the slow burn method. Mm-hmm. So without being too expensive, because our service is a little premium. So what we are trying to do is how can we reach more people? And for that, you can't be a premium product alone. And we can't sell, the same thing, which is, yes, of course, I believe strength training is absolutely important and that everybody needs to lift weights and it's good for us. But some people need to start, maybe a little easier. Like I started with trying to touch my toes, for example. And then I started with running 1 kilometer.
I still can't touch my toes.
It's harder every year. So how do we try and figure out what this means? So that's what the R&D part is. So that's where we're trying to figure out, can we scale a little differently? Can we scale a little faster? Whereas our flagship service, large group coaching, I think about 20 to 30%, that's the scale we want to work towards. That said, there is a lot of technology. That's something we're not very good at.
Okay. I was actually going to come to the tech and the tools that you use, but just before that.
Yeah.
So when did you start marketing paid? When I say marketing, I mean paid ads or paid marketing in this journey. So you started in 2011, you're now in 2025, 14 years in. When would you have started the paid marketing?
I want to say maybe 2017-ish. Around then.
5-6 years in.
5-6 years in.
And what made you think that this is a good time perhaps to start?
Because we were slowly starting to reach a layer of people that we previously hadn't reached.
Got it.
So we were like, you know what? Okay, now we are getting these eyeballs. We need to start talking about it more.
Right.
So that was around that time. Whereas in the beginning, first we started a center and then we branched off. 2 of us in one center and then one center each. The centers were separated by about 2-3 kilometers. But we always had a wait list. So, we didn't really need anything except just continuing to do a great job. So that took us for 4-5 years. And Madras, yes, it's a city, but it's also a village.
So I think what you said was that when you did start off, you organically grew your business in your geographical small location. Then you expanded centers. And then also was through your organic reach where people whom you already knew or people that you knew who knew more people start coming to you because you sort of built up that brand versus putting out ads prematurely. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people think that that's what, today's the entire thing is you see 100 ads a day saying we'll build DM funnels for you, complex funnels, VSL, this thing and that thing. And then what we actually tell people is that, first make a business. Be known for something who delivers a certain result or need not be a transformation, but gives some value add. And then you can expand that beyond this thing, right? And I give the example of telling, say, a person who say 150 kgs never worked out, has terrible habits, lives YOLO style. And in the second week, he says, sir, mujhe fat burner de do. Kaun sa acha hai? And you'll be like, dude, first get your fundamentals right, Or like you're driving a car, right? You don't put it into fifth gear at the beginning. You first need to build it up, get steady. Up to third, you're still sort of there. And fourth is you're driving. And then you say, okay, now let's go into cruise and really accelerate, right?
And it's not like we knew this and we were flawless. We did try, in local newspapers and all that. And then you realize, one, we don't need it because and two, that's not the kind of audience we are catering to. So you make a mistake, you get, you realize.
Yeah, you bumbled around, you figured it out. I think you have to, right? Yeah. You have to make a few mistakes yourself. Everything will not be taught to you.
Yeah.
You will make stupid mistakes, which is fine.
Absolutely. Right? Just make it fast and keep moving, learn from it and go on to the next one.
Yeah, that's what Mark Zuckerberg says, right? Fail fast, right? Yeah. Fail fast, move. Don't keep holding on.
Yeah.
Cool. tech tools. What do you do? I mean, so you've got 1,300 clients. How do you manage stuff? How do you manage classes? How do you manage timings, time zones, allocating duties, rostering? How many coaches? I don't know how many coaches you have, but how do you manage all of this? Like, how do you keep it sane, systematic? And I know that Raj is the person who's like totally anal about these things. So how do you do everything?
So most of it is run because we have an amazing coaching team. We have a coaching team who cares about the customer, the student. That's it. It's all built around this. So we have a batch system. So there's a little bit of organization. So if you are logging in, you are going to be logging in around these hours. Of course, there's a lot of flexibility. Say you're traveling or today, I can train only during lunch, evening, all that's there. So that is a convoluted process at the back end. And this is the stuff that Raj and I are cleaning up, because now this involves a transfer of knowledge, but all of our systems are literally on sheets and Excel and things like that. So it's not the best. And this is where this year we've started really ramping up on putting all these systems into place, into tech. But it's one of those things which, because the process and system is so good, it has been able to handle. But we are at that place where the next 3 years, where if we are going to grow beyond this, and we hope to get to 5,000 in a few years.
That was exactly the number I was going to say, that what got you to 1,300 will not get you to 5,000. Like, or rather, what you can manage to do with 1,300 may not be scalable enough. So you need to start investing.
100%. This is the one big thing that we've not done well. So trying to figure out how to put our tech as in, Raj and I have a system. There's a reason why we are called the quad. How we take you from point A to point B. All of this is there, but it's not efficiently communicated, and it involves a lot of manual work by our coaches. So they do all of this really well, but we can save them 80% of the time by building better systems. So yeah,
that's true. That's true. I think a lot of people now, this is the classic example of you adopting certain technologies or adopting certain processes and systems when they are required, right? Rather than saying, okay, you know what, let me just get everything into place. Let me sign up with, any app, this thing which allows you to train people. And I won't take names, but they're all good. And then I'm going to start figuring out how to do online coaching or doing whatever, right? I always say that if there is a, like, oh my God, you know what, we're going to face this problem. And I'm like, you know what, that's a good problem. If you have too many coaches coming on board, if you have too much this thing, we fix it then. We find it. It's okay to have a little few broken systems initially, but the main important point is how do you solve for distribution, for growth, for
the distribution, like and if service delivery is taken care of. If that's breaking, then you got it wrong. But if that's
exactly, and there's improvements are part of business, right? Super. But you stole a question from me. I would love to know, and I'm sure the listeners would love to know, what does quad exactly mean? How did you come up with it, and who came up?
So a lot of the brainstorming behind the quad involved our wives as well. So pretty much every day during the week, Raj and I would be in the midst of work, chatting and talking about training, what we learned, what we are blogging, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then pretty much every weekend, we would they would come to our house or we would go to their house and we would be talking. And so the wives would also be involved in the conversation because they're seeing all of this.
Yeah.
It was all four of us who brainstormed on a lot. They were our sounding boards. Really don't know where the word.
It was the four of you, right? The quad.
Yeah. That's
one theory.
That's one theory. So it just, I'm not sure, maybe the others remember, but it just came out. The jargon behind why Raj and I call it the quad is we wanted to, define fitness. What does fit mean? And as Coach John says, the most important thing is you have to identify point A. You need to know where you are and you need to know where you're going. And then you connect the dots.
Right.
So how do we do that? So we defined, okay, you know what? Fitness needs to have these 4 skills or attributes: strength, stamina, speed, power, mobility, flexibility, suppleness. So these are the 4 sides that make up your quad. So let's say you're an endurance athlete. Your endurance arm is really long, But if you can't touch your toes, if you can't lift too much weight, then your quadrilateral maybe is not even connected or it's very disjointed. And what we can help you with is first identify this, and then second, it's very simple as coach to now figure out what you need to work on. And I'm not saying
Correct.
you even it out. Like if you are, an ultra runner, that is going to be your super skill. But what is the minimum level of strength, of suppleness, of power and speed that you need? So
Yeah.
that's our framework, and this is
That's your
what.
secret sauce as well, right? When it comes to actually training. So it's not just the name, but
Yeah,
literally that becomes your methodology, your
yeah.
mantra, all of those things.
And this is honestly this method.
Great.
Once you figure out the putting it into codifying it, we want to share it. If more people go to the gym and you agree with how we have envisioned it, to us it makes sense. Are you getting results at your gym? Can be a straightforward question you figure out with this system. It doesn't have to be training with us or anybody. If you go to a trainer, is your trainer doing what he said he would, which is give you results, take you
Right.
where you want to go. And for that, you need to know where you are. You need to know where you're going. So we just need a
Correct.
shared language to describe it. And this is our contribution.
Fantastic, fantastic. And do you by any chance call your team the Quad Squad or
Yes. Yes, we
you do? I'm sure. I just thought I'd ask. Super. So just but thank you so much, Arvind. I think just as a this is a closing, right? Just as great, just tips for people who really looking for online and have been considering it currently just in gym jobs. And what do you think? And this is what I say that most of these guys are they've got a lot of technical certifications
Mhm.
and they're job ready, but to run a business they need a few more skills, right?
Mhm.
What in your mind would be, I think just one, like just if you could just choose one or maybe two, right? As what do you think would be the most important skill set for a coach to have to really succeed in the fitness industry? Would it be physique, having a great physique himself or herself, marketing, sales, communication, language, or having great social media? What do you think in your mind would be a couple of great skills to have?
Couple of things. Well, one, I think communication, but more than that, are you here for the right reasons? Because that comes through. Are you passionate about fitness? Has fitness impacted you? And are you clear about what you are selling? Selling is not a bad word. I mean, you sell, if you create enough value, somebody's going to buy it.
Correct.
So if you're not, I'm a little puritanical about this. If you don't have that clarity, you're not going to, really want what is best for your customer. So that means meeting them where they are. Do you understand them, not pushing your agenda or pace? None of it. Like some people, just showing up is a big deal for them. Whereas if you say, I need to make you squat more, no, that's your agenda. Do they want to squat more? Does that get them where they want to go? Think understanding this, having this relationship is one. So I know, call it kindness, call it communication. All of this has to be part of you. I think if you nail this, you will go wherever you want to go. The second thing I would say is having clear systems and processes, because then you are just busy and doing a lot of things. Instead, if you can be a little precise, hey, this is what I tried, this is how things are going, I think learning from it and constantly tweaking and tinkering, so you arrive at a repeatable process rather than I'll do what I feel like. So those are two things there. And just building on that technical thing, one common thing is we think communication means I need to show off how good I am, how I know so much. Don't do that. I think, yeah, I know, but the third was a bonus, but it's really
Great advice. Good advice. Yeah, no, honestly, I think all good. I think you need to be able to meet the client at where they are,
Mhm.
right? And understand their needs before pitching something to them, which just is absolutely cookie cutter or just something that, you've created a plan. So you need to sell those three plans and, figure out where they pop in, as opposed to giving something that's absolutely relevant to that guy. I think, well, that was, I think, the most important point. Great. Perfect. Just one thing about AI, right? Like I actually have people who come to my gym who don't know how to train, and then they use ChatGPT to make plans for them and just follow that. Where do you think AI is going to go? How does it impact, companies like Quad, like yourselves? And how do you think it's helping or not helping consumers to sort of get fit?
I think on paper, what ChatGPT will give you is amazing. So for coaches and for organizations like us, we need to figure out what we have to sell that AI can't do. Because if it is simple progressions, oh, AI can do that. So there are a lot of things that AI will take over, even form and technique correction, for example. It's coming. So embrace,
Yeah.
and that's what we want to look at for our virtual. This is awesome. Now I have a better eye right there that's going to tell me, so how
Great.
do I build on top of this system? That's the key. So I would say if you're being made redundant, don't specialize in that. And I think training plans, for example, they're the easiest thing, honestly, because a training plan on paper is actually useless. You can write great plans or simple, just steal a plan from a world famous coach. But whether the student or the client is able to do the plan is what matters. That is something that is very, very hard to, well, bypass. And I'm not sure if AI is going to do that. That's probably a human thing. So I would say that part is there. But everything else, if you embrace AI for plans, for progressions and all that, it's the straightforward way for you to focus on connecting with your client in a different way. So yeah.
I so agree. I think AI won't replace coaches, but people who use AI to speed up their work, do the I would say the very I would say the really hard. I mean, this is just the boring sundry work that you need to do over and over again. You can use AI to really accelerate what you do and do the
Mhm.
smarter things, like you said, building on top. Like if you have an AI to actually create quick plans and then you use your intelligence to make it slightly better for that client, or you have AI to even monitor a person's movements and now you just get all the insights and now you can help them better it out, right? So with that, I think we'll end. Thank you so much. It's been very entertaining. How could people reach out to you, Raj, the Quad, and sign up?
The quad.in, we have a huge virtual program, and Raj is on Insta. He shares a lot of amazing content. So look out for him, raj.kanpat. I'm also on Insta, but I'm just starting to be regular. So yeah, you can find us on those platforms. I write on Substack, arvindashok.substack.com. So whichever is your fancy, if you're into reading long form, not many people are, check me out on Substack. Otherwise, Insta it is.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you again. Thank you again, Arvind. Great speaking with you. And
Thank
we'll connect offline also.
Absolutely. Yes. Let's do that.
Cheers.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.